The history of Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. Introduction. History is filled with extraordinary figures who reshape the world, but few names echo across time as powerfully as Genghis Khan. Born as Temujin, in the rugged Mongolian steppes, he rose from an abandoned child, struggling to survive into the architect of the largest, contiguous empire in human history. His story is one of hardship, survival, brilliance, brutality, and legacy. To truly understand Genghis Khan, we must travel through his humble beginnings, his rise to power, his conquests, his governance, and the indelible mark he left on history. Chapter 1, Early Life of Temujin. 1262-1177. The future conqueror was born around 1162 near the Onon River in the region we now call Mongolia. His given name was Temujin, meaning blacksmith or ironworker, though interpretations vary. At the time, the Mongolian steppes were a harsh and unforgiving land, windswept plains where survival was a daily battle. The steppe tribes were nomadic, moving with their herds, living in felt tents called yurts, and constantly fighting rival clans for resources. Temujin's father, Yesugei, was a respected chieftain of the Borjigin clan, a branch of the Mongols. His mother, Holin, was known for her resilience and strength. Temujin was the second son in a family destined for turmoil. Tragedy struck when Temujin was only 9. His father, while escorting him to meet a potential bride, was poisoned by members of the rival Tatar tribe. With Yesugei gone, the clan abandoned Holin and her children, deeming them too weak to lead. Overnight, Temujin's family went from a respected household to outcasts struggling to survive in the wilderness. This early betrayal and suffering left a lasting mark on young Temujin. He learned resilience the hard way, hunting rodents, fishing and scavenging roots with his siblings. He grew up in a world where loyalty and strength were the only currencies that mattered. During his teenage years, Temujin displayed both courage and ruthlessness. In one account, he killed his half-brother Bektar during a quarrel over food and authority within the family. This act shocked some, but it also marked Temujin's determination to assert himself as a leader, even in desperate circumstances. Chapter 2. Building Alliances and Rising Power. 1206. As Temujin grew, he began reaching out to other clans and forging alliances. The Mongolian steppes at the time were fragmented into dozens of tribes, constantly at war with one another: Tatars, Merkits, Naimans, Karaites, and others. Temujin's genius lay in his ability to unite these fractured tribes under one banner. Unlike traditional tribal leaders who promoted relatives and noble families, Temujin valued merit over bloodline. He elevated men based on talent and loyalty, not birthright. This revolutionary approach attracted many skilled warriors, who had been overlooked in their own clans. One of the most important figures in Temujin's rise was Togrul, the leader of the Karat tribe, who acted as a mentor and ally. Another was Jamuka, a blood brother, Anda of Temujin. At first, they worked together to expand influence, but eventually, Jamuka and Temujin became bitter rivals. By the late 12th century, Temujin's reputation grew. He crushed rivals, made strategic marriages, such as with Berta, his lifelong wife, and gradually drew more tribes under his command. Yet this rise was not without setbacks. At one point, Jamuka defeated Temujin and massacred 70 of his men by boiling them alive. Temujin escaped, rebuilt his forces, and learned the importance of discipline and loyalty. By 1201, Temujin decisively defeated Jamuka and other rivals. His discipline and innovative military organization, dividing his army into groups of tens, hundreds, and thousands, set him apart from traditional tribal armies. By 1206, his authority was so unquestioned that a great council of tribes, the Kurultai, declared him Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. The era of scattered tribes was over. A new power was rising from the steppes. Chapter 3. Early Conquests. The Shisha and Jin dynasties. 1206-1215. With the Mongol tribes unified, Genghis Khan turned his attention outward. His first major campaign was against the Tangut-Sisha kingdom in northwestern China. In 1209, after a swift campaign, Shisha submitted to Genghis Khan, providing troops and tribute. The next target was the powerful Jin dynasty of northern China. The Jin ruled over a wealthy, populous region with fortified cities, very different from the nomadic lifestyle of the Mongols. Yet Genghis Khan's armies adapted quickly, using siege engines, psychological warfare, and brutal assaults. The Mongols struck terror into their enemies. By 1215, the Mongols captured Zhongdu, modern Beijing, after a bloody siege. The victory brought immense wealth and resources to the Mongols, as well as new technologies like siegecraft, which they would later use across Eurasia. This campaign demonstrated Genghis Khan's flexibility as a leader. He was not only a master horseman and warrior of the steppe, but also a quick learner who absorbed technologies and strategies from conquered peoples. Chapter 4. The Khwarezmian Campaign, Wrath in Central Asia. 1218-1221, one of the most infamous episodes of Genghis Khan's career was his war against the Khwarezmian Empire, which controlled Persia and Central Asia. Initially, Genghis sought peaceful trade relations. In 1218, he sent a caravan of merchants to the city of Otrar. However, the Khwarezmian governor accused them of spying, executed them, and confiscated their goods. Genghis Khan, furious but patient, sent 3 ambassadors to demand justice. The Shah of Khwarezm, Muhammad II, went further. He killed one envoy and mutilated the others. This was a mistake the Shah would regret. In 1219, Genghis Khan unleashed his fury. The Mongol army, renowned for its mobility, discipline, and brutality, swept through Khwarezmian cities. Bukhara, Samarkand, and Urgench fell one by one. Cities were burned, populations massacred, and survivors enslaved. Bukhara, a jewel of Islamic culture, was famously addressed by Genghis himself. "I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." By 1221, the Khwarezmian Empire was in ruins, its cities turned to ash. The Mongols had struck terror deep into the heart of the Islamic world. Chapter 5. Campaigns in the West. Into Europe. 2123. After defeating Khwarezm, Genghis sent his generals on exploratory campaigns westward. His fearsome generals Subotai and Jebe led Mongol forces across the Caucasus, defeating Georgian and Armenian kingdoms. In 1223, they clashed with a coalition of Russian princes and Kipchaks at the Battle of the Kalka River. The Mongols feigned retreat, lured their enemies into pursuit, and then ambushed them. The result was a catastrophic defeat for the Rus. Thousands of prisoners were executed, with princes crushed to death under wooden platforms as Mongols feasted above. This was only a preview of the devastation the Mongols would later bring to Eastern Europe. Chapter 6. Governance and Achievements. While known for destruction, Genghis Khan was also a visionary statesman. He established systems that laid the foundation for the vast Mongol Empire. The Yasa Code, a legal framework that enforced discipline, loyalty, and justice across the empire. Meritocracy. Positions were awarded based on skill and loyalty, not noble birth. Postal system, YAM. A relay network of stations with fresh horses that allowed messages to travel at incredible speeds, across thousands of miles. Religious tolerance. Genghis allowed freedom of worship for Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, and others. Trade expansion. By stabilizing the Silk Road, the Mongols promoted commerce and cultural exchange between East and West. These policies reveal that Genghis Khan was not merely a destroyer, but also a builder of a new world order. Chapter 7. Death and Burial. 1227. In 1227, during a campaign against the Tangut Shi, who had refused to support him, Genghis Khan died. The exact cause remains a mystery. Some accounts say he fell from his horse, others suggest illness, while legends even claim he was killed by a captured princess. His burial site is unknown to this day. According to tradition, his funeral cortege killed anyone who crossed their path to keep the location secret. Horses were ridden over the grave to erase all traces. To this day, the tomb of Genghis Khan remains one of history's great mysteries. Chapter 8. Legacy of the Universal Ruler. After Genghis Khan's death, his empire was divided among his sons, but his descendants carried on his conquests. His grandson, Kublai Khan, founded the Yuan dynasty in China, while others expanded into Russia, the Middle East, and Europe. The Mongol Empire, at its height, stretched from Korea to Hungary, covering nearly 22% of Earth's landmass. Genghis Khan's legacy is deeply complex. To some, he was a brutal conqueror responsible for millions of deaths. To others, he was a visionary leader who created stability, fostered trade, and brought distant civilizations into contact. Even today, he is revered in Mongolia as a national hero, the father of their nation. Conclusion. The story of Genghis Khan is not just the story of a conqueror, it is the story of a man who rose from nothing, overcame betrayal and hardship, and reshaped the world. He embodied the harsh spirit of the steppes, but also the vision of uniting humanity under one empire. From the plains of Mongolia to the walls of Beijing, from the deserts of Persia to the rivers of Russia, his shadow loomed large. Genghis Khan remains one of the most influential figures in history, feared, admired, and remembered as the universal ruler.